I'm failing at doing this. I watch VHS, trust me. I like this new snow globe I found at a thrift store. It plays Cinderella music, and this is the Disney World castle, which I always thought was Cinderella's castle. I guess it is, but in the movie it looks slightly different. Anyway, we're talking about Cinderella. Welcome to the Silver Age. Today we're going to be discussing Cinderella. Cinderella is an adaptation of one of the most famous fairy tales. This version in particular is based off the one by Charles Perrault. I don't know if I said that right. Or this story has been adapted for a very long time. There's millions of different versions since ancient times, so in the most part, it didn't really change a whole lot from the original fairy tale, so we're not going to discuss much. The sisters cut their pieces of the feet to get in the slipper. Alright, that's it. Cinderella was a return to form for the Disney Company. After making a bunch of package films, they're finally making a full-length, full film, whatever you want to call it, based on a fairy tale, and it did gangbusters. I would say Cinderella is probably one of the most famous Disney movies. As a matter of fact, it was Walt Disney's favorite fairy tale, so it makes sense for they to do it now. I don't know why they didn't do this one first, but I guess Snow White made it better. I don't know. Don't ask me, I'm not Walt Disney. Other than that, there isn't a lot of behind-the-scenes details, oddly enough, but there is a lot of deleted scene information that we do have, so let's go over some of that before I discuss the movie itself. If you've seen this film, you know that the prince here does barely anything at all. In fact, he doesn't even have a name. I guess his name is Prince Charming, but that's kind of generic. See, originally he was going to be in the movie more, but I don't know why they just cut it. And he was actually going to be introduced way earlier in the film, like playing with a deer for some reason. He was going to hunt it, but not really. I don't really understand it. And I guess he was tired of it, so he yawned. There's also an additional scene at the end of the film where he was going to re-meet Cinderella right after this scene here where she gets her slipper turned in, whatever you call that. And they were going to have interaction and be like, I know you're a peasant and all, but I still love you, stuff like that. It sounded interesting, but Walt Disney said, this sucks, cut it out. More for pacing than anything else, but whatever. And the other scene that was cut by Walt Disney was the scene where Cinderella was laughing at her stepfamily, and I guess because Walt said she'd be too spiteful, she has to be perfect, but whatever, I think that scene would have been funny. And that's about it for Cinderella. Now, this movie is good, however, there is one big problem. Most of the movie, like at least half the movie, is dedicated to mice just fucking around. And honestly, it's just not that entertaining. Which is a shame because the other human characters actually I find pretty interesting. I know, I usually like animal characters more than human characters, but in this case, I prefer the human characters. The mice just like, wow, we're mice, let's eat food and let's run away from a cat. It's like a lame version of Tom and Jerry, just not very good. I mean, it's okay, but you wish it wasn't taking up so much of the film. Another big problem is that the prince is heavily underdeveloped, even more so than the Snow White one. And here, they just cut it out just because. In Snow White, they ran out of time to do it, basically. But here, they just like, let's cut out the guy's scenes. And, that makes him a less interesting character overall. So yeah, that's some of my gripes. I would talk about the plot, but I think you already know what the plot is. Everyone knows Cinderella. Well, I'll go over it real quick. Cinderella has a dad. He's pretty cool, but he marries like this bitch. Oh, and her dad dies, and now she's stuck with a bitch, basically. And now she's stuck doing the chores for all these lazy assholes, including the lazy-ass cat. Oh, and there's this king guy. The king's like, I want my son to get married. His son doesn't want to get married until he meets Cinderella, but he's like, I want him to get married. This king character gets more screen time than his actual son, if that makes any sense. Though his scenes are actually funny. I do like the scenes. You're just, why does the son get no development? Oh, she goes to the ball, leaves a slipper behind, and gets married at the end. So yeah, that's the plot. So what makes this movie good? Well, there's a couple things. First is the animation. The animation is spectacular in this film. Unfortunately, there is a little bit too much lame slapstick that doesn't really work that well in Disney cartoons compared to Warner Brothers cartoons, but that's, other than that, when Disney animators do Disney animated things, they make very impressive looking scenery. I mean, look at these backgrounds, they're gorgeous. They really made this castle feel gigantic, and it's really cool to look at. Like, pretty much any of the scenes during the ball look really great. I mean, I want to live in this area. Like, give me a castle, please. After seeing the okay animation of the package era, it's nice to see some really high quality animation and effects. And plus, the soundtrack's good. Usually I talk about the music at the end, but I want to talk about it here because this is the first movie to have, in my opinion, S-tier songs. Just the way they're incorporated in the film is pretty well to me. Like this one scene where the stepsisters are singing badly to the song. They suck. They suck at singing. Then we follow a character to the cat leaving the room to Cinderella who's cleaning, but she's also singing the same song, but it's completely different sounding because she can actually sing. Juxtaposition of someone who doesn't even have a lesson but working and singing way better than them is kind of something I really like. It showcases a lot of character without saying anything. I love it. I really like this movie. Probably not as much as my grandma. I think she said this is her favorite film, but I'm not sure. Whatever. I don't know why I thought to mention that, but I just did. I have to talk about the villain in this movie, who is named Lady Tremaine, or the Evil Stepmother. This character is so evil, but in the most delightful way possible. She doesn't even have any magical power, she just has control over one person, and she makes her life a living hell. She was played by Eleanor Audley, I don't know if I'm saying that right, who did the model for her, live-action model, as well as the voice, and she's so good that Disney rehired her for Maleficent. This character is great to watch because the animators had such a fun time giving her expressions, mostly because the facial model is pretty good, and I guess she's delightfully evil, and you love to watch that. And that's all I really have to say about Cinderella. It's a film that I feel like everyone's watched, and you haven't, give it a watch. You might like it. Though you might want to skip for some of the mouse scenes. Also forgot to mention, this film was nominated for 3 Oscars, didn't win a single one. For Best Sound, Best Original Score, and Best Original Song, didn't win any of those, which is a shame, pal. This is just a classic film, it's helped Disney, and from here on out, we're not going to see a single package film. Well, other than Fantasia 2000, but you know. For some reason, Cinderella was given a sequel in 2002. It was terrible. It's actually a canceled TV show they put into one movie. They also made a third one, but this one's actually good. In fact, I've seen some people say this one's better than the original movie, which is kind of shocking, but it is a very interesting movie, so I will cover it one day. Cinderella also had PC games, like this 2001 Cinderella's Dollhouse for PC. I never played this game once in my life, but there's something about these early 2000s and late 90s PC games, a very high nostalgia factor for me. I'm not sure if anyone else can agree with that. There's also a GBA game called Magical Dreams, where you do chores. Yeah, very, very fun. There's also a shitty Match 3 game that's called Cinderella Freefall. I mean, I guess this counts as a game. Disney also remade it in 2015, and it's actually the one that people say is actually good. I haven't seen it, so I can't say so for myself, but that's what I hear is the only good live-action remake. We will see, I guess. Now let's look at Disney parks. There is nothing more famous at Disney parks than Cinderella's castle in Disney World and Tokyo Disneyland. The other castles aren't Cinderella's, which I was shocked to learn when I was a kid because I'm so used to Disney World. And yeah, this castle is ginormous. They even have a snow globe of it. You saw at the beginning of this video. But yeah, the castle's impressive. Tinkerbell comes down from wire at the very top. It's been used in Disney logos. It's just a very iconic piece of Disney paraphernalia, if you will. There's even a restaurant and a suite inside this castle. It is super cool, but also super luxurious. And there's a train going down outside. Isn't that lovely? In the Tokyo Disneyland version of the castle, there's a walk-around attraction inside called Cinderella's Dream. I don't know, it doesn't really matter that much. It's mostly just paintings, and sometimes there's an animatronic that pops out at a certain spot. It's probably the least interesting thing, especially compared to the Sleeping Beauty castle and walk-around attraction at Disneyland, which just looks better than this. Anyway, near the center of Fantasyland and Disney World, as well as Tokyo Disneyland and Hong Kong Disneyland, we get Prince Charming's Regal Carousel, which is honestly one of the lamest Disney rides. One of the biggest problems I have with this ride is that it has incredibly lacking theming. It's just horses. And then there's very little Cinderella theming at all, or any Disney theming, or anything that makes it above a standard amusement park attraction. In fact, I've seen more interesting carousels that bringing them fairs, to be honest, with interesting little stuff you ride on, but here are just generic horses and nothing else that's spectacular about it. It's lame, it sucks. The last place to talk about is Bippity Boppity Boutique, a place that's in Disneyland, Magic Kingdom, Disney Springs, and Tokyo Disneyland. It's a dress shop, and that's pretty much it. Cinderella goes into the B tier, otherwise getting an 8. I think it's a good film. However, I think it's missing just a little bit to go to the 9 category of our perfect score. The mice scenes really drag it out a little bit too much, in my opinion. The rest of the film is pretty good, though. If it was a bit more fleshed out, I would say it could be a contender for a 9, or let alone a 10. I talked about the main villain in the movie, I think, pretty well enough during the main part of the review, so I'm not going to go into much detail. I think Lady Tremaine is just a great villain, a character, a pure evil one. You don't really need a whole lot of backstory for her. She's just a vain woman who only cares about herself and others. We've come across people like this in real life, so it's not hard to pass up that a character could be like this. She's not killing anybody, she's just being manipulative. We've met people like these in our lives, unfortunately. So seeing someone pure evil like that is something that I feel works enough for her to be an S tier. I know I like some sympathetic villains, but sometimes you gotta like a character just pure evil, because believe it or not, people are pure evil exist all the time. In fact, a lot of them are billionaires. Anyway, besides that, put the stepsisters in the B tier. They're mostly just lackeys for Lady Tremaine. In fact, they're probably not even all that bad. They're just kind of raised by a really bad, vain woman. So for the most part, they're there. They don't do as much as their mom. And yeah, that's all I gotta say about that. During my song rankings, I've usually am way down here in the F tier, which sucks. But that's what it's been like for the last couple songs. However, we're going up, we're going up, we're going up. Yeah, we are not in the bottom court. In fact, we're near the top, which is pretty good. So let's see. In our C tier, is that C? Is that right? So you gotta see. Of course, I messed this up a little bit. That's just what happens. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, nothing else is worse than that. Okay. At C tier, we got Bippity Boppity Boo. That's the worst song in the movie, in my opinion. Not worse. Obviously, C tier is not bad. Oddly enough, this is the one that won Best Original Song. Was in the top. Was in the U.S. charts. Whatever. I don't really give a crap about that. In 1950s, I don't think it's that great of a song. It works from the context of the film, but by itself, it's just not. It's okay. I mean, I don't know. It's alright. I like the choir part. And then we got in Nelson C tier the work song, otherwise known as Cinderella, Cinderella. It's the mice singing about how they're gonna make a dress, and they reprise the main song, and yeah, that's about it. Nothing too interesting there. It's just that. Then in B tier, we've got Cinderella, the title track. Actually sounds really nice and lovely. Unfortunately, the singers aren't that smart because they said that she's as beautiful as her name. Now, Cinderella means like ash. Quite literally, that's what her nickname was. Oh, you're in the ash. You're Cinderella. Ha ha ha. That's the fairy tale origin of her name. So she's not. That's not very beautiful. Actually, it's supposed to be an insult, but whatever. Other than that, I like that song. And geez, Louise, that was an A tier. In S tier, yep. You're not looking right wrong. We have 3 songs in S tier. Sing Sweet Nightingale. I'll explain why I like that song in the video itself, main video part itself, so I don't need to explain much of that. So this is Love. We don't see much of their love. We see them dancing, but the background and the vocalization, it's like a snap. It's good. And the main song, A Wish is a Dream Your Heart Makes, which you heard at the beginning of this video when I played that little snow globe I have. It's just a nice song. Eileen Woods, I believe that's her name, who voices Cinderella, is a great singer, and she pretty much elevates these songs. You can tell that when she sings a song, it's S tier. She has a great voice, and I really like Cinderella as a character. And that's all I really got to say about that. Next time on the Disney Marathon, we go down the rabbit hole into Alice in Wonderland. See you then.